And slide number 3 is a picture of perhaps space that was not intended for public use but has turned into sort of a public space, and that's the front of the Guggenheim. And what's notable here is that there are folks sitting on a low wall in front of the museum, and the person who submitted the picture writes, "This one's a good example of a place I always see people congregating and having interesting conversations in New York City." And so the lesson here may be that as much as we talk about building public space in the city, New Yorkers are going to make whatever space is available to them public.
And I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. That's essential to the nature of New York. I've always said that the greatest public space in New York are the streets and the sidewalks, not the parks, not the things that we actually consciously design as public spaces. And this little found piece of the Guggenheim is a real indication of that. The other thing I love about this picture is that it's a close-up of this section of the front of the Guggenheim where people are sitting on a ledge, and you don't actually see the famous spiral and the huge shape of the building. So it's an unusual view of the building. It's sort of, one of those pictures of the elephant that just shows you a tiny little piece of it instead of the whole shape, and that's kind of nice.
But I want to go on to slide 5 and actually open up the phones on this one, too, because this is a picture submitted to us by Raymond Haddad, and it's actually of the skyline of New York taken from New Jersey, framed by a skateboarder launching into the air in a skate park in Hoboken. And I thought maybe we would take a few phone calls from people who want to talk about your favorite vantage point from which to see the Manhattan skyline. Do you have a favorite vantage point from which to view Manhattan? 212-433-WNYC, 212-433-9692. And I love this shot with the skateboarder in the air.
It's
and
fabulous.
The Empire State Building, a little bit on an angle sticking up in the background.
And beautiful afternoon light. You see that This is obviously taken in the afternoon, and that light coming over from New Jersey, golden late afternoon light, is wonderful.
And as one of our producers said the other day, really you don't have a relationship with the New York City skyline if you live in Manhattan. You have it if you live in Jersey or Queens.
You have, in some ways, a much better one. That's absolutely true.
Or walking across the Brooklyn Bridge, right? Or the Manhattan Bridge, or the Williamsburg Bridge.
Or the George Washington.
Coming over on some of the subway lines that come across elevated from Brooklyn, you get a great skyline view. Beth in Brooklyn, you're on WNYC. Hi, Beth.
Hi. I want you guys to stop talking about the IKEA park because that's my park and I don't want everybody going there.
Okay, there is no IKEA park in Red Hook.
It's really just a figment of our imagination.
That's right. There is not a beautiful area, and those cranes, they're not really being built. They're not building the park. They're there as an homage to the waterfronts that used to use the cranes.
Actually, I thought they were there to add sludge and debris to make it less attractive.
It's not really that. And there
Right.
is not a ferry from IKEA over to Manhattan.
No.
And there is not a gorgeous view of the Statue of Liberty from the back of Fairway. All that area, just stay away from it. It's all nasty.
Well, there is a ferry from Brooklyn to Manhattan, but you can't get back to Brooklyn, right? Beth, thank you very much. And obviously, she doesn't mind the fact that IKEA built this park. She obviously digs it.